Hi, Jesse here with etrailer. Today we'll be taking a look at and I'll show you how to install the Blue Ox base plate on our 2013 Fiat 500. There's 5 main components when looking to set up your vehicle for flat tow. The first one is the base plate. That's going to be the physical connection that will connect through the second component, which is your tow bar here. Those connect your vehicle to your motorhome. Then we have our wiring, our diode wiring. That's just there to make sure that your tail lights on your vehicle will light up when the motorhome tail lights light up, so turn signals, brake lights, and all that. Then we have our safety cables here. Those are going to be here as a last line of defense against any catastrophic disconnect that may happen while you're out there on the road. And finally, the braking system, which our neighbor opted out because the Fiat is such a light vehicle. However, I'll almost always recommend adding a supplemental braking system. It's just going to make sure that you're not only relying on the brakes on your motorhome, and you also have the towed vehicle's brakes helping you come to a nice, steady, safe stop. Here's what everything looks like while it's hooked up for flat towing. You can use almost any tow bars with this. Other brands you might have to get adapters for, but today we're working with a Blue Ox, so it fits just fine. So as far as removing tow bars, it's just a matter of taking that clip out, sliding your pin out, and then these arms are removable. It's just a matter of pulling back that pin and a quarter turn and it pops out. So whenever you're driving around in the car and you're not flat towing it, it gives you a nice clean look. You can also disconnect your safety cables here and of course your wiring. But as you can see, it's a pretty nice clean look for when you're not flat towing the vehicle. But when you are ready to hook up your car to your motorhome, you just slide the arm in. Once again, just a quarter turn, and that pin has a spring on it, so it automatically engages. You bring your tow bar up, slide the pin in, put your clip in, and close it down. One thing worth mentioning, the Fiat 500 obviously does sit pretty low. Also, our neighbor has the Abarth version and it's lowered. So this base plate does sit low. It'll sit low on the regular Fiat 500s. So just keep that in mind. You will need a high-low adapter. I'd say once you get your base plate installed, measure the height and then measure the height of your motorhome's hitch. And you want those numbers to be about as even as possible. A couple nice features of this Blue Ox base plate. It does come with a pretty clean black powder coat finish. And one thing I do like is the bracket for the 6-pole is built in, so you don't have to worry about getting that set up. It's just another thing that you don't really have to worry about when you're installing everything. And as far as that install goes, it's really pretty simple as far as base plates go. You just have to remove the fascia and then get it bolted up. So if it's not something that you're looking to do yourself, maybe you don't have the time, the space, or the tools to do so, feel free to check out our dealer locator. However, if you are looking to get this set up yourself, then follow along and I'll show you how we set up ours. We will begin our installation here. We have 4 T30 Torx bolts to remove. Pop all 4 of those out. Now we have 2 Phillips screws holding our wheel liner, connecting our wheel liner to the fascia. There's supposed to be 3, but we're missing 1 on both sides, so if you have 3, that's normal. It's just a Phillips screwdriver. So now at this point, there's supposed to be a T30 Torx screw like this, holding the fascia onto your fender. This car is pretty old, so that screw is missing. It looks like it was broken off before. So if you have that, just get a T30 Torx and take it out. Underneath the vehicle, we have 3 T30 Torx screws in the middle. And then on the outsides, we have 2 Phillips screws. Let's just going to be one on each side. Now it helps to have an extra set of hands. I have my friend Brad here to help me. We're just going to start working on the outside. Just popping these clips out. And then once we have those popped out, just don't pull it out too hard. You'll probably have some electrical connections. I have a bulb on this side, and then this wiring harness, you'll just push in and pull that out. And then we'll set that aside. Now we'll have 4 15mm bolts on each side to remove, just holding the bumper beam in. After those are removed, we have 2 10mm bolts on each side. I'm going to leave this lower one just a few threads on, just so the bumper beam doesn't fall off when I take these off. I'll take this one off the rest of the way and set this aside. We are ready to install our base plate. Just lift it up into place. I'll get one bolt started. And we are keeping this spacer, so it might fall out when you're taking the bumper beam off. Just remember to slide it back into place. Let's get one started on both sides so it holds the weight of it, and then I'll get the rest of the bolts installed. One thing to note is we do need to add blue Loctite to each bolt, so I'll just add it on to the rest of them, and then that one that I have in there holding it in, I will just take back out and apply the Loctite. Now we'll just tighten everything down with that 15mm socket. Now we'll just run through all the bolts with a torque wrench. If you don't have your own torque wrench, we do have some available here at etrailer. Or you could always borrow one from a local auto parts store. But the torque specification's listed in the instructions, so that's what we'll do. Next we need to install our safety cables. These are just here as a last line of defense in case of a catastrophic disconnect. So essentially we just need to wrap it around a sturdy part of the vehicle and connect it to our convenience loops here. So while you're doing that, you just want to make sure that you're not tugging on any wires or hoses. So I'm going to get this one set up, and then I'll show you how I routed it. So on the driver's side, it's pretty simple. You just wrap it around the body of the car. There's a lot more space than over here on the passenger side. Just be careful not to get it tugging on any of the hoses or wires, but pretty straightforward. Now that we have these installed, it's a good time to start installing any other flat toe components you might have. For example, on our neighbor's vehicle today, I'll be installing diode wiring. So I'll get that set up. We will have to do some trimming of the fascia. So whenever I get to that point, I'll come back and show you what we're doing. What I did was I removed the lower grille. There's just tabs all along the back. You'll just have to push down in the middle. On some of them I had to use a screwdriver to kind of help me push down while I'm pulling out, and just worked my way around. But what this is going to do is allow us to reinstall the fascia as is, and then I can kind of figure out where I need to cut on our lower grille in order for all of our base plate components to pop out of here. So I'll get that fascia reinstalled, and then I'll start marking where I'm going to cut. Now I'm just mocking the grill up, and what I'll do is start with the safety cable loops. So I'll mark out where to cut for those because they stick out the farthest. So I'll mark those out, cut them with some tin snips, and then we'll move on to most likely our 6-pole and get that cut out. All that's left is to reinstall our fascia fully. Otherwise, that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the Blue Ox base plate on our 2013 Fiat 500.